That idea. Thank you very much for being prompt. If it occurred to me while waiting to get on, I thought it's up to you. I'll send out an email with my phone number. If any of you want to just exchange phone numbers, feel free to. Not necessary, but just in case you want to. All right, so it's 2 o'clock and the Bridgewater Tree Committee is in session. First order of business, the approval. By the way, excuse me, if you hear noise in the background, we're having work done in the house. We're moving, since my wife and I are, shall we say, in the aging process, we're having the washer and dryer moved upstairs. So it's not a simple process, but anyway, that's the noise in the background if you hear it. We have the first order of business, the approval of minutes of March 14th. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So
Motion made by Shirley. Is there a second?
second.
By Bill made it second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Approved. There's no public here, so there's no public comment. As I said before in the email to you yesterday, I really appreciate the fact that people have really worked hard in subcommittees, and I think because of that, these full committee meetings don't have to go on for hour after hour. We can be very quick. And this is great. I think that you've all done such good work. What I'd like to do is to combine the new business Arbor Day events and the old business Tree City update. And first start with Nicole, because the Arbor Day events follow what Nicole has to say. So Nicole, why don't you give the group summary what you did?
Sure. Well, during the last call, I presented to the committee the 4 requirements to become a tree city. And we all kind of talked through them and conceptually agreed that it sounds like we can do this. Ray and I actually further spoke with a representative from DCR, Massachusetts, who administers the Tree City and Arbor Day programs, I guess, for our state. And we sort of got further confirmation that we, for the year 2023, should be able to qualify as a tree city. The application is due in December. What I didn't realize, and we now realize, is that it is an annual program. So we will need to reapply every year to confirm that we have met the 4 criteria, which were having the tree committee, having a tree ordinance, kind of that budget number, spending the $2 per capita on tree maintenance. And then the 4th item was having an Arbor Day proclamation and an Arbor Day program, I guess, celebration. So that is what we really realized we wanted to streamline. Ray helped to get Fred Chase, the president of town council, kind of on board with bringing forward an Arbor Day proclamation. So at the town council meeting last Tuesday night, he brought that forward. It basically proclaimed Arbor Day in the town of Bridgewater for that last Friday of the month, which this month would be the 28th. And all the council members signed and agreed to that. So that is wonderful. That was a huge step in our paperwork trail to being able to designate Bridgewater as a tree city. The other piece that we would need to, all the other pieces are still in the works. And I think maybe what more we need to talk about today is kind of like what our official celebration might be. And again, when we talked to the DCR, they really assured us it doesn't have to be a massive thing. He says a lot of towns do a tree planting, or they go to a school and, do an activity where it's maybe like a coloring contest, or they all plant a tree. It could be something with a Boy Scout troop. It could be something with, a church or a community group. So I think that there's a lot in the works. And Ray, I'm trying to remember what was discussed that may be done, which Michael Dutton had agreed would be a good idea.
You're muted.
All right, for Arbor Day, you mean, or for,
Yes, for Arbor Day.
no, he just said he would help, whatever.
Oh,
way-
good.
That's all, yeah.
Okay.
But on that, though, two things. One, first of all, Nicole did this. She made the presentation in front of the council, and you should all be aware that this would not have happened without Fred Chase. Just, there's underground here. He pushed this through on his own. It was amazingly quick. When I asked to get on the agenda, we were a day late. He got us on, so be thankful of him. We sort of thought that a tree planting might be nice.
Yes.
And Shirley and I did stop at the, I think it was Bill who recommended Marathon Park behind the police station, and Shirley and I stopped there yesterday morning, and she thought there was a couple of good spots. I think it's a great spot because one, could use some trees, and two, it's great for PR. We can get the enterprise there, have a few pictures taken and so forth. That will be nice. So
I agree.
that's an option. I mean, you all can come up with ideas. What I'd like to do today is to come up with a place.
Yep.
And then go to Michael and say, you okay with this? Give us a time and we'll fly with it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Actually,
I agree that a
excuse me,
prominent.
Can
Oh,
I
go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I just step away for 2 minutes? I've got a plumber here I gotta talk to. Just you talk among yourselves, okay?
Yeah, I think Marathon Park's a great idea myself.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a place where it's just load of the families every nice day, so. You know,
Yeah,
Well,
that's
good idea.
that's what I was thinking of. Definitely, somewhere such as that, or at the schools, or somewhere that it is kind of a prominent location that can also serve as an educational opportunity. Another point is that at the meeting, at the town council meeting, there was actually a Boy Scout troop there, and they were trying to learn about the way town government works. However, they approached us afterwards and expressed their interest in helping us. So he gave us his contact information. They were older kids. They're probably on the track to getting their, what's that final
Eagle Scout.
Eagle Scouts. They were
Eagle.
my son's age, so they were like 15, 16. So I was thinking they could potentially help
That's
do
great.
actual planting, or they could do something like maybe make a sign to designate it as our like inaugural tree. So they were very open to helping if we want to use their skills in any way.
So, to comment on that, I think that's a great idea. But they're always looking for like Eagle Scout projects. I know they've come here a few times and done things in the park. They did the old, one of the old buildings here they cleaned up. Could that be, I don't know if that's enough to be a project. Could they plant it and or maintain it for the summer, keep it watered or things like of that nature?
They mentioned something to that effect. They have done something where they maintained a planted area for a year. They actually mentioned something to that effect. So I think that they'd be open. I'm sure they have a little bit of turnover, but perhaps we could just get the troop engaged in general so that then it could kind of get kicked down to the younger ages as the older boys graduate.
Are these the trees all that National Grid has offered to buy for us or give us?
So National Grid said if I get them an answer today, he can have us trees of our choice on the 27th. In talking with Bill, looks like the swamp maple would be the choice for that area.
The red,
I'm sorry?
the red maple?
No, it wasn't a red maple, was it, Bill?
I was under the impression that the swamp.
I'm
white
sorry.
oak-
I'm sorry, I said maple. Yeah, swamp white oak. I stumbled up there.
The red maple and the tupelo, which are the other two that he wants to give us, require a more moist soil area. And the best candidate for, that's an elevated area, I would think would be the swamp white oak.
Well, if I may, when I went down there yesterday, it looks like the Marathon Park area had some fill put in there before they put in the equipment and the mulch or the wood chips. It looks like there is a dip between the end of the parking area, the fence, a strip of grass, and then the fence for the park itself. And at each end of that fence grass area, there is a low point that leads out into what looks like it might be a marshy area on both sides, east and west or north and south of the Marathon Park. My feeling is that if we can plant 2 trees, one in each of those corners closer to the low part, there may be enough groundwater in there to provide the quotes moisture that they're looking for the maple, red maple, as an example. They also say that I think the Tupelo should have a moist soil. So of the 3 trees, the red maple and the Tupelo need a moist start. And I think that the land, the way it has been laid out at Marathon Park, indicates that there are those 2 lower level where we might have more moisture involved. With the help of Boy Scouts watering, particularly that first year, and maybe even if we can extend it for another year or 2, with their help, I think that the red maple would last in there. And personally, I think the red maple is a prettier tree. It has a height range of 40 to 60 feet. Nice red leaves in the fall. The Tupelo is not good for a trafficked area, so I don't think there would be much in the way of traffic on the 2 locations that I'm talking about. The white oak is a slow grower and it grows quite high, 50 to 60 feet. So again, I would more likely go toward the red maple than any of the other 2, but that's up to the group to decide. The location, I think, would lend itself to that kind of tree.
Is there, again, I missed part of this, is there any dissent for Marathon Park, or is that agreed upon?
Is there any what, Ray?
Anybody against using Marathon Park?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Oh,
I think they probably could benefit from shade, so.
yeah, yeah, agreed.
I have a question. Shirley, didn't we put a tree or 2 in Marathon Park through the BIA?
We have 5 there, Bill. We have 5 of those trees on the side of the park closest to the police station. They're lined up in a row.
Okay, okay.
Line. And they look good and healthy. I think they're coming along all right.
Oh, we able
Josh,
to-
if I can share my screen, if I can have, I'm looking at a nice aerial map that I think shows those trees.
You should be able to.
Okay. Yeah, so is everyone seeing my screen?
Mhm.
Yeah, so here's the parking lot and the, kind of pink orange areas, the play lot. Are these the trees that
Yes.
the BIA planted? Okay.
Yes, those are the trees.
Yep. So down in this area, by the way, this is a kind of a wet area, actually, for a community service project. My son and I went in there. Well, he did it and I held the trash bag, but we picked out some invasives in that area, but that's definitely wet, wetter down here on the walk to go towards the softball area, which I think also could benefit from, I don't know the land ownership back here, if that's also town owned land, but that is very hot and open back there as well.
Mhm. The places that we're looking, Ray and I looked at are up here, the red arrow, which I think this is another lowlands. And then we were looking at that corner and this corner down here.
Where are we pointing to? I don't know.
What's that?
I'm not sure where
Yeah.
in front of the parked cars.
Okay.
That's
There's a
So
fence
some-
here.
strip, yeah.
Somewhere in here.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I was looking down here in the corner as the lowest part of this strip of grass. and over in this corner up here also. So we would border the playground with these 2 trees. My feeling anyway, and that's just up for
We
grabs.
aren't seeing your pointer, Shirley. Were the 2 kind of in the same strip, or is it a back
can't-
corner somewhere, or this,
You can't see my pointer?
no,
No.
No,
Okay. Look at the 4 or 5 cars that are parked up close, pointing at the park, and then come to the left of them
yeah,
toward the baseball field. Keep coming, and right there toward the very end of that strip of grass, right there,
okay,
where the pointer is. And then
okay,
follow it directly up to where the other 2 cars are parked, and it says
okay,
Marathon Park. And
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
where they're- Yep.
yes, okay,
mhm,
So that would be providing some shade in the area of the playground, but not the softball field. That would be a separate,
right.
maybe later issue. Addressing the softball field. I mean, obviously, we can't put it in the middle of the softball field like Charlie Brown, Arbor Day Special did, but there is that area a little bit south of all of this, that area between
Yeah.
the parking that we're just looking at. That's kind of along that walkway. It seems like there's maybe some space there for
Down by the softball field.
Yeah,
yes,
down here.
yeah, somewhere along that path might be nice. For a shade tree for those watching the games. But obviously can't get too close to the field because then I don't think that would be popular.
Right.
We might also get some pushback from the people who have their swimming pools bordering that area.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, for our purposes, for Arbor Day, wouldn't we be better just to settle on a couple of locations near the park?
Yeah.
And think about planting down by the softball fields in the future.
Yeah. There's a larger population of the town would go here. If you don't have somebody that plays softball, you would never come back here. Not that that's not a great place, but maybe the inaugural trees,
Mhm.
could be in this very visible location. And Ray, when you stepped away, I did mention how the Boy Scout troop had approached us and asked that, they could certainly help in any way we can think. So a few ideas that came up was maybe they could help us keep, water them for the first year. Maybe they could potentially even help make a sign kind of designating that, this planting on our first, Arbor Day celebration or something to that effect. So those were some ideas we were brainstorming.
And my limited understanding of Eagle Scout projects is that they are meant to be more than a one-off thing like planting the tree alone would be. So the idea of having them commit to managing their time of over the course, especially that, like Paul said, the first summer, but throughout the first year, I think would be nice to set up, have them figure out how often they need to go there and who's going to do it and how they manage that calendar. I think that would all be would make it a little bit more interesting, a project.
I agree. I think
Nice precedent.
they'd get off too easy if they just had to plant the tree.
Right. Maybe they could kick it down to a younger age group too, that they do things a little bit, they don't do as extensive of a project. That could be a thought too.
Mhm.
Could I just step back? I may have missed this, but Paul, have you had any contact with National Grid regarding the trees?
Yep, he just said to let him know. I told him we were meeting today. We'd finalize the decision. I'll email him as soon as we're done,
So-
and we should see delivery at the location of our choice on the 27th.
Can we get 1 or 2 trees?
2 trees.
Same kind or different? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, great.
I do not know, and I never thought to ask exactly what size they are. I'm
That's
just
all right.
assuming that they're gonna be an average tree that we buy and plant, but I will
All
make
right.
sure to ask.
Again, I missed part of this discussion, but is there any other discussion on this? If not, I'd like a vote taken on that we accept 2 trees from National Grid and that be planted at Marathon Park on the 28th.
Second.
Now,
we-
somebody has to make a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Can we add
Um,
red maple to that?
Sure, well, let's make, okay, go ahead, Bill.
Well, Shirley had mentioned red maple, and I
Right.
think it's a very appropriate tree for those 2 locations.
Okay,
So maybe that could be part of the motion.
why don't you make the motion?
Right, yeah,
Okay, well, I would move that we accept the 2 trees from National Grid and plant them both at Marathon Park in our designated area.
Okay,
Would you
And I-
like to specify the trees, Bill?
right, right.
Shirley, I'm sorry,
Specify the trees that you want the National Grid to provide?
you said red maple, Shirley.
Okay.
But it didn't get in the motion.
Oh. Billy, want to
Okay.
make that motion again with red maple?
Mhm.
Okay, so the motion is now going to be to plant the 2 red maples supplied by National Grid at Marathon Park in the 2 spots that we have designated.
Good.
All right, again, I may have missed, okay, I'm sorry, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion?
I will just say that that tree is on the tree list that Pat and I will be proposing, the draft tree list. So,
Good.
all 3 choices are on there, but
Does anybody remember see this line here? Is that a fence?
That's a
Or
fence.
is it- Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I think
Just
that-
making sure,
that's-
because I'm looking at this, seeing how well it's mowed. And I didn't know if it was mowed that way for any particular reason, that there's anyone we would need to talk to about the 2 the actual location of the trees blocking any emergency vehicle or maintenance vehicle access.
Is that a fence, Shirley, or is that telephone poles and the fence is further back between the 2?
No, that's
It's a
fence. It's about 3 feet high,
Okay,
very solid.
Okay, so a vehicle can't get back there anyway, and they would just mow around it like they mow around the other trees, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
That would be Parks.
Or-
Yes.
Paul, is
I
the
would
town
expect
doing-
that we
is the
would
town
have-
taking- Wait a minute, let me just clarify this. This is town property, correct, Paul?
yes, to my knowledge, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is the town taking care of the grass there?
I believe Rec does.
Okay. All right, so we
And I
have,
So-
talked to, I'll confirm with Jim Small, he's the head of the rec department. And he formerly ran our golf course for 20 years, so he's pretty versed on making things grow. So I could also ask him just to help us point us in the right direction and make sure we're planning it appropriately or whatever.
all right, we have a motion that's made and seconded that we accept 2 red maples from National Grid that to be delivered on April 27th, and they will be planted on April 28th, Arbor Day at Marathon Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Anybody against? Motion passes. Okay, now, what I will do is to email Michael and tell him that we made this decision and ask him to set up a time that the planting can take place. And I take it, Paul, you can dig the hole or have it dug?
So it all, hang on, I gotta come back here. Why don't we hinge on if the Boy Scouts want to get involved or not? I mean, if they do, we could, depending on the size of the tree, like we could probably sneak in there ahead of time and pop a little hole with a backhoe or something, and they can get their shovels and
Okay, that'd be great.
doctor it up and.
And I'll have Michael set a time during the day so that maybe we can get some members of the council, he and various people can come at the planting and we'll get, I think we can get the enterprise there. And I know Jeff Fowler from the BTV will have somebody, he'll try to have somebody there. And we'll have it, that will be our event for Arbor Day. And that we'll use that, we'll take pictures and we'll use that, Nicole, for the application. Okay? That's great.
Sounds perfect.
You know, what's amazing to me is this all happened in 2 weeks. This is Bridgewater and happened in 2 weeks. That's just, I'm stunned. I really am.
now,
All right.
Ray, do you plan to notify all those people you said that would be showing up? You mean like, once it's okayed by the town? But you mean like the newspaper and,
We have contacts with the enterprise, BCCR does. I mean, I'm not sure Michael may also. I'll leave it up to him. What we'll
Oh,
do, you know,
okay.
it's his, he's the town manager. I don't want to.
I think he could do a press release. They could do a, maybe we could ask him also if we set the time and help do a press release.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think look, he already said, I will help if I'm needed. He's already told me that, so I think this is great. We'll have a good time. All right, that's good. If you don't mind, I'm gonna move the ideas for summer projects back. We did Nicole with the update, the shade tree ordinance. Bill, I think we can take fairly quickly. Bill, maybe you can just update people about what's going on.
Well, it's in process, of course, and one of the nice things that has happened is Ray has discovered his nephew, who has an advanced degree in forestry. Where, in Colorado, Ray?
Pardon me?
Is he in Colorado?
He's in Colorado, yes.
Yeah, yeah, who has done some editing, and I've got his paperwork back, and we'll go back and forth a little bit and eventually submit it to the planner and the town council. But hopefully it'll be before next month's meeting.
Yeah, I just want you all to understand that Bill is doing this essentially by himself. It's a big job. It's not simple. And we want to do this right. So if it takes, a couple of months, so be it. Yeah, I think we've been sitting on this for what, 15 years or whatever, and we can take a little more time. Yeah, surely.
Is there any connection between what you did, Bill, the tree ordinance, and the chapter 290 that we have on the books?
Yes.
Already?
Very much.
Yes. And so you, and developing your tree ordinance, this recent thing, looked or included information from the chapter 290. Is that right?
Exactly.
So we would do away with chapter 290, that will no longer apply, and this tree ordinance will take its place, correct?
That will replace it, yes.
All right.
Just to recap, this whole thing started because Michael suggested that we revise the tree ordinance. Bill looked at it and he said that perhaps the whole thing should be rewritten, and Michael said, yes, rewrite the whole thing. That's where we're at. Now, if my nephews looked at it, I sent this to the town planner also to look at, Shane O'Brien, see what his expertise is. I'll send a copy to all of you. If you want to have a special meeting simply on this, we can do it. I'm not sure it's necessary, but I'm just saying, if you all want to have a discussion about it. Personally, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not sure what's right and what's wrong. So I defer to others to do this, but if you feel you want input and discussion, then we can maybe set up a special meeting to do it, or maybe even at the next meeting. So,
Yeah, Ray,
Because-
wait, Bill,
the document as it sits presently is not ready for
right,
our review.
okay.
Let's get a draft done, and then we can all look at it and.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So let's just put this on hold. Shirley?
Well, I would think that we're going to see, or Bill, you might want to see how Ray's relatives' suggestions weave into what you've already got written there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right,
One,
so why don't we put this off until the next meeting? Fair enough?
one thing I just wanted to point out that I came upon in doing the research for Tree City is that there are sample ordinances that we can have access to. And in Massachusetts, they reference the Mass General Law, Chapter 87, which our ordinance originally was based on, but I'm presuming it's a much older version. So I think that I can send, why don't I see if I could find some of those materials and send those along so we can use them for reference as well.
Sure. Send it to Bill.
Uh, The DCR also has a very nice set of instructions to construct a town tree ordinance,
Mm.
which I have.
Oh, you have? Okay. Okay. Well, I'll see if
Yeah.
I see anything else and I'll send it your way.
Okay.
Good. It's great. All right, town regs. And Shirley brought this up, the idea of us compiling all the regulations that various boards have on trees. And I did send you a while back the two regs, the rules and regs for the planning board and the town code, which has trees in it. And I believe those are the only two written documents, whereas boards will make decisions. And in pointing this out to Michael, he said, based on Shirley's suggestion, that he would notify the various boards that if they have a tree issue or something regarding planting trees, that they come to us before making a decision. Whether he's done that, I don't know, but I'll remind him of that. But I think that's an important point. Shirley?
Yes, and I think that they may be operating with some policies that they've developed earlier on. So we want to kind of dredge up all the policies that relate to trees from the various town committees and put them into one spot. Well, they should be located with a date and title and so on. So we have one place to go for all regulations that deal with trees and not in the planning or the park commission or the whatever. All having them in their own little bylaws. So at one point, whenever Michael gets around to doing that, I think he should make a point of saying, we will collect all of this information and have one place dealing with trees, and all of their policies and ordinances and so on will be found in that one location.
That's a good point, Shirley. I mean, I think we can, I'll bring it up with Michael. I think, I'm just guessing, but we may have to do that ourselves, and it may not be an official document. We just may have to simply send it out to everybody saying, this is what the tree committee feels is important. I doubt that. I don't know. I'll bring it up with him.
Okay.
Very good. Anybody else on this? Okay, let's see, National Grid trees, Paul, we've already done that, I guess. Are we getting, if they're giving us 2 trees, are there more coming down the road if we want?
Actually, I emailed him while we were talking. He just responded. Let me see what he said. One sec.
Could I ask a question about that, those trees? I know it's been determined that they belonged to CVS, but Bill said they were fairly close to the sidewalk, right?
We're not doing the CVS trees yet. No.
Oh,
I'm just-
okay, but
Hang on 1 second. I'm just
Okay.
asking Paul about whether we can get more trees or not. Besides,
So I think it's like an annual thing they do, from what I understand.
so the 2 that we're gonna get for Marathon Park is it for the year, is that it?
I believe so. He said they're gonna be, we'll be ordering number 15 containers instead of balled or burlapped. The container sized trees are easier and safer for transport.
Okay,
If that means anything.
okay.
I'm
All right,
not
good.
sure how to
Next,
translate a number 15, but
Okay, next is the CVS trees. Paul, do you have anything on that or not, or?
I hit dead ends. I've tried reaching out. I've tried CVS store support, CVS Caremark support, CVS property maintenance, I guess they call it. I just keep hitting dead ends, or just, endless hold times.
Have they been removed?
Oh, they're down. They're down, yeah.
Wow.
I may be, this may be contrary to this meeting, but it doesn't look that bad with them down until they flip to my. Hate to say that, but
There's really not a lot of space for trees in that, between the sidewalk and the roadway.
that's right. Yeah,
And-
maybe
and
some,
then the stone wall there.
maybe even shrubs or something, some small trees would be nice. Yeah,
Yeah, I would not think a big tree would be appropriate anymore.
Right, I agree.
Well, my question was, it refers in the regulations a lot about even if the roots are going into the right of way, then the town would have some jurisdiction over them. So I don't know if that was really established before those trees came down. Was it?
I don't know, Pat. Paul, do you have any idea about that? The roots?
Do not know.
I haven't heard that before, Pat.
Yeah, it's in one of these many regulations that I've read.
So if the roots go into the right of way, that it's town property.
The town has some jurisdiction over it, yeah. The root, if either its root system or its branches extend into the public way as determined by the tree warden. So that's the language I was referring to. So did anyone ask permission or do they just do it?
Paul, you aware of that?
I'm sorry, I'm emailing somebody at the same time. Give me 1 sec.
They did ask both Paul and myself.
Oh,
for
okay.
permission, And we reluctantly gave it to them. But your comments about the root system extending into the town property could backfire because so many private trees on front lawns, the root systems, of course, are very large and go well into the sidewalk. And if we gave everybody, everybody would want the town taking their tree down.
Taking care of it, sure.
Yes, or even worse, removing it.
But it could work in our favor. That's in the chapter 290.
Hmm.
Okay.
I can step back for something we were asking. I just used Dr. Google a moment ago. Number 15 seems to be the same as 15 gallons. Which I just saw a site that says that that's a very common size for a tree that would be 6 to 12 feet tall. So for
That's a
what
good
that's
question,
worth.
though, yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't expecting a tree and they deliver a little sapling or something.
The gallon size is going to be smaller than the burlap ball size. So a tree that comes in with burlap ball around it is going to be bigger than the gallon that they're going to deliver from National Grid.
But you said this is a 15-gallon, right, Paul?
They said number 15 container, so James said that.
When I
translates
say
to gallon.
gallon, I mean the typical, what they use is, the gallon is a form of measurement, whether it's 3 gallons or 15 gallons, it's just all going to be the same size.
Well,
Right.
In other words, you can't,
I think the bottom line is we've already gone this far. I mean, we're whatever
Without a
happens.
doubt.
Yeah,
I think the gallon size is fine. I
Yeah.
really do.
okay. All right, great. Let's see. Next, recommended trees, Pat and James.
Okay, Joshua, if you could make me a co-host, I'll share our draft list.
You can share.
Okay, thank you. And what we did is we worked from an existing list. Pat did all the real thinking here. I just kind of tried to scribe it a little bit. We start with a list called we're informally calling the Framingham list, and that's what's here at the top. A number of species that are in, I think these are also in a draft of the planning board regs for street trees.
Right.
And then we went to additional lists from National Wildlife Federation, and that's what's shown in this like brown color. We went to the Framingham list, and most of what's on that list we would recommend keeping, except in the cases where it's not native. So we would like to use that list as the starting point. We're suggesting removing anything from that list that's not native. And then the reason for going to an additional list is that everything on this additional list would be a also a keystone species with a large number of, that would actually be actively contributing to biodiversity by supporting caterpillars and thereby supporting birds and other vertebrates. And again, this is a list of options for a landowner, so we're not pushing them that they must plant these, but we would definitely want to, I think we would want to encourage that. So we have this kind of jumbled list with several columns of criteria, and then I took all of the yeses from that list and just alphabetized them into this single draft list that's at the bottom. And the one thing that we're not quite sure of there is the pagoda dogwood, which is on this additional list from National Wildlife Federation, but is not a keystone species. And again, this is very much a draft, but I think this is something we might be prepared to circulate and have some sort of vote on. I'm not today or next month. I'm not sure.
Can I just clarify something, James?
Sure.
Is the list you have, is it essentially two lists? One that here are trees that you can plant, and here are trees we would recommend that you plant. Is that, are you separated that way or no?
No, whoops. No, we did not. They're all, we were thinking we needed to have a list of permitted trees.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
If we have a way to put our thumb on the scale of recommended, that would be great. I don't know if the regs are written in such a way that we're able to do that or not.
Okay. Why don't you, I think this is like the, not quite like the shade tree ordinance, in that we should make sure we get other opinions. If you could send me the list,
Okay,
I'll send it out to my nephew, and see what he says. And maybe, also give it to Shane, the town planner, and see what he says too. I think this is great though, yeah.
yeah, so it's a list that begins with Shane and then has some things we're taking off of Shane's recommendation, a few things, and adding a number of others.
All
So
right.
we definitely want his opinion before we actually did that.
Right,
I'll send you
Shirley?
that.
Shirley?
Yes, one of the things that I'm a little concerned about is we should probably identify the types of trees in terms of height, spread, whether it needs or would require moisture or not, some of the characteristics, because there's no point in planting a street tree that's going to die because it's doesn't take a lot of traffic and pollution from traffic, or putting a maple under the power lines when you know that National Grid is only going to have to come in and bastardize it by trimming the heck out of it and leaving it look very unwelcoming. So I think we ought to try to, in some way, categorize these trees that would be appropriate for certain conditions, particularly height and spread as two conditions, and the what it needs for a good bed of growth, guaranteed growth.
Right, is there, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. If there's a place that we can, is this something we can require, say, a builder to look at, a developer to look at?
Well, you know, this sort of next to what we were talking about earlier about having various boards come to us with our recommendation. I mean, we can give recommendations based on that list that you just gave, James, assuming that they do. But I think Shirley's point is also valid, that maybe
we should at least have a resource where we can go, we say these are the trees that are permitted, and maybe that's part of a regulation. And then we can also provide some criteria that aren't necessarily regulatory, but a description that we've looked up and designated these.
have you looked at other towns that do the way they do it? Do any of them do it like what you're recommending, James?
I've not looked at.
Okay.
any other
I
towns.
just sent actually to Bill, as well as to Shirley and James, a link that actually includes all of the communities in Massachusetts that have ordinances, and it has a link. And as we were talking, I was just scrolling through. I didn't come across any yet that have the tree list included, but Grafton was actually an interesting example because they actually have a list that they prohibit. So that is like the silver maple and some of the, Norway maple, black locust. So that is some of the invasives. So they, basically are saying that you need to, get approval and work with the tree warden to select the appropriate tree, but they explicitly have ones that are not allowed. And that could kind of help make sure nothing ever slips through the cracks, at least with the biggest offenders that we would not want.
Well,
That are
don't our-
that
don't
are
our old
people can get
regs-
their hands on. Yeah.
Don't our old regs say some not allowed trees, if I remember correctly? No?
What did you say, Ray?
Don't the original, the regs we have right now on trees, isn't there a space for trees that we don't allow?
Yes,
Yes, and
right.
that made no
Right.
sense to me.
I'm sorry, James.
I saw that in the list. It makes it made no sense to me if we're saying, it depends upon the purpose of the list, but if the list is, here are things that you are allowed to select for street trees in a new project, A, B, C, D, we list all the trees that you're allowed to have. All of the trees in the world are excluded. I do understand the thought of, I guess I understand mentioning trees that we especially don't want, but we don't want anything that's not on the list, right?
Okay, but then let's clarify this. Are you saying that what you have shown, I forgot what the title was, is it recommended or allowed that you're using?
It would be recommended for my understanding is the ordinances where where the planning board is directing somebody, you shall plant trees. And if they're directing it, those trees must come from this list.
Okay,
But we're trying to winnow it down to a list that would be permitted.
that's fair. Okay,
Because
Alright.
if I understand I think that also publicizing a list of things we really don't want you to plant, even if you're not a developer with a new project, as tree committee, we could say, here's some things that if you're just doing something in your backyard, we'd rather you not do.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll look at how Grafton has worded it. I think you're right that Bridgewater maybe does have it worded that way. I just don't know how you end a list of non-acceptable trees.
I guess it's just, I don't know if I've ever seen something so prescriptive that someone could have absolutely no choice to come forward with a species that is acceptable and appropriate to this region that maybe we didn't find. That would be my only concern, is being that prescriptive. If there is a little bit of wiggle room to come forward with something for approval, I'm imagining we would want to have a little bit of flexibility. Things change too over time. Climate, maybe I'm wrong, Bill. I don't know what you think, if that's,
any comments? Bill?
Well, as far as prohibited trees, I think that there are a handful of trees that Norway maple, silver maple, that can still be purchased and people still like, and they should definitely be pointed out that are unacceptable.
Well, that's what Shane put at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just occurred to me, as much as we are dealing with street trees, if the regs simply say that these particular trees are not good for this area, maybe private individuals will also look at the list and not use trees on their land, those trees on their lands. That might be a good idea. Anyway, we need a little more work on this then.
I think so.
Okay,
Keep working on it, and we'll look at that Grafton list and those other
Okay.
towns. So thanks for
Okay.
that. And
that's good.
we'll keep at it. And
All right, now the two more things. The worst thing, first of all, and that is, how do we get Michael to put in the budget that we want a cherry picker? I've already, he's a good guy and he responds when I say something like, I'm sure he's gonna respond to the tree planting right away. He ignores me when I say something about
Money.
I actually, not to cut you off, I talked to them a little bit about it, just in conversation. And as much as we need one, the town has to make a commitment to have the employees to run the truck.
Right.
You can buy all the trucks you want and park them in the garage. If I don't have anybody to use it, then what good is that doing me? So, I mean, you're putting the cart before the horse in a way, I think. Or do we hope that we get the truck and he'll hire the help?
Didn't you say you have a slot for a person? Paul?
So they took the money out of the salary line and they put it into an operation cost, so we can pay an outside vendor. I'm sure we can have it switched back if they're willing to support the position again, but it's gonna have a couple guys. We can't go back to one guy, running around trimming trees.
Well, this is really up your area. Where do you think, how do you think we should move on this? Or should we? I'd like to see a forestry department.
I mean, you gotta have a forestry department. I mean, the town's too big and has too much growth not to have somebody maintaining all the, I mean, why buy trees if we're not gonna maintain them? We might as well just quit now, if that's the case.
And
yeah,
just be clear, what would a forestry department entail it?
Well, I don't think that we would be handling major takedowns. Big trees like in front of CVS, we're not equipped to do stuff like that. You need a company, a major tree company with cranes and rigging. But just pruning alone and access and sight line and we get calls every day. People came and walked down sidewalk because the branches are hanging so low. So that, I mean, I'm sure they could keep busy, certainly just pruning and trimming. Not to mention, hazards that come in and storm damage and things of that nature.
What do we need to get Michael to do with the council? To simply establish a forestry department with no money or a forestry department with X number of dollars? What are you saying?
I think we have to create the department all over again, start from the ground up. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no one.
I think we should keep as much pressure as we can on Michael.
Yep.
To point as many dollars as he can to this tree department and forestry. And I see so many towns around us that have functioning tree departments and they seem to do very well. And we just can't seem to get it going.
I mean, I think every town I can think of surrounding us has a forestry division of their DPW or however you want to call it.
Right.
Some bigger than others. East Bridgewater takes on quite a bit. They have a bucket truck. They have some pretty talented tree guys. West Bridgewater, not so much. They do a little bit of pruning and then they hire an outside vendor. But regardless, they're part of the department and they can be used for other things anyway. I mean, we need help in the highway division, so they could be cross-trained, I guess you'd call it, or.
So what do we?
We have to pull together.
Wait a minute, James first, then Nicole.
I was just gonna ask, are we currently, I mean, it sounds like a rent buy trade-off, right? Are we currently paying somebody like on a very part-time basis to do this a certain number of days a year? Or renting equipment? Or
So
just
we've
not doing it?
hired, when we have a major section to prune, we hired a company to come in, like last year, we did the Common, Broad Street and Main Street, just properly prune all those trees. Then we have, actually I have it right here. We have like a rolling list of tree takedowns. These are people that called in, they identified a sick or a hazard tree. We go out, confirm it's within the town's layout, then we schedule it for takedown with an outside vendor usually, almost always. Internally, we have nobody. There's nobody trained in tree removal. There's nobody trained in tree work. We send the highway guys out on days that are, not the greatest weather, just to kind of drive through every subdivision and cut things back to make sure the sidewalks are open and line of sight for pulling out and things like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole first. Nicole?
Oh, Yeah, I'm wondering too, we do have to kind of pull together proof of kind of the budget that we contribute towards tree care and maintenance for the Tree City application. So I'm wondering if that could potentially also be used as a way to show how much we outsource. And Paul, maybe there's a way that we can estimate how many hours the highway department personnel are taken away from their other duties to handle tree care. I mean, maybe that could almost establish an initial budget that our forestry department, which doesn't exist, is already doing. And maybe there is someone can do an economic analysis of the point at which we would be saving money by not hiring those third-party companies, but instead having our own staff and our own equipment.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be good, Paul, if you could tabulate how much money we spend on outside firms coming in the year 2022.
Yeah, I can do that easily.
Yeah, especially because we need that. It's got to be $2 per capita, right, Nicole?
Correct, but we need that for 2023. So
Oh,
we have to track that you have by December, we would need to have justification that we've spent around that $60,000. That was us doing a back of napkin calculation of $2 per capita, 2 times 28,000 people that we spend at least 60. So
well, see,
which you felt-
that would be an argument if we could save money
correct.
by not hiring outside firms. That would be an
Yes.
argument in the long run that the town would be saving money then.
Twofold, we're gonna probably save money inevitably, but also there's so much work that's not even being,
Done.
accomplished. We're only getting people in here when it's an absolute urgency, it's a hazard, it's a safety concern. Nobody's maintaining the healthy trees that we have.
How do you want to proceed?
With
I'd
caution.
like to send Michael another message that we voted to do something about a forestry department. How do you want to do it? I think as I think Bill, as you said, or somebody said, we got to keep the pressure on them. We're talking about the 2024 budget is in July.
Right. Well, mind you, they haven't even voted on they haven't voted on the FY23 capital yet, and they're running out of time for FY23. So, I mean, in the FY24 capital, we could certainly include a spec for a bucket truck. And then within that time frame, it's kind of like if you hire the guy without the truck, well, what's he gonna do, right? But if you have the truck without the guy, that's gonna be parked as well. So kind of has to happen, together.
You need both, right?
You do,
Shirley?
I wonder if, Paul, could you put together a list of what our actual expenses are for tree maintenance around the highways in town? For the past, maybe an average of the past 2 or 3 years. And to that, add what would be needed if we were to do the proper maintenance that we aren't hiring outside help to do. So that we have 2 lists of costs. One, the actual, and the other, the most desirable. And then we can have a better idea of what we're arguing for or not for with Michael for a budget item. Does that make sense?
Does.
Why don't we do this then? I think it's a good idea, Shirley. Why don't we take a vote that we recommend to Michael that a forestry department be established and that we will, in the near future, give him some backup material to give him some ammunition to push for a forestry department. Does that sound reasonable? Or no? If so, let's have a motion.
So moved. Josh,
Wait a
that's
minute. Okay, what I'm saying is that we immediately tell Michael we still want a forestry department, and that we think in the long term it will save the town money. That we'll give him some basic figures on how much we spent in the past, back up the argument,
Mhm.
okay?
Well, so, but we're not giving him anything to work with yet, right? So what will we be asking him for?
Would be asking
Okay.
him for a equipment, a staff and equipment for forestry department, which would include one able forestry worker and a bucket truck.
Right, so they're gonna have to do like a market analysis, because I think part of the problem before is they just weren't offering enough money for a person that's, you know, knowledgeable and experienced in tree removal and tree care. Whether he be an arborist or not.
Paul, would this be a part-time person?
No, I think this would be a full-time position.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The salary part of it is probably there because we have the salary. The one gentleman we had passed away. Gotta be 5 years ago now, 4 years ago, and that money, we didn't want them taking the money, so we just transfer it into operating budget so we could at least outsource some of it. So the salary part shouldn't be a hard ask. We should have that. It's just a matter of, he's gonna put a capital expense in the equipment. And then whether or not we add an additional support or like a labor position to help that person. Or if that person gets taken from highway, that's fine too. You just have to establish somebody that's cross-trained or whatever.
And the bucket truck?
That would have to be a capital expense that, you know, they would vote on, I guess.
If you purchase a bucket truck for $180,000, you'd expect it to last probably 6 or 8 years. Doesn't the town amortize that over that period of time? Rather than looking at a upfront capital outlay?
They do, most purchases have been lease purchases as of late.
Yeah,
So like if I buy a new, you know, plow, sander, dump truck combination, it's a $250,000 truck. They do a 5-year lease to own, but you know, they get 5 years, $50,000 payment with interest, 60,000 or whatever.
sure.
So it's not really a huge upfront expense for them.
And I'm sure Michael knows that anyway.
Sure.
Okay, so we're asking him to move forward and we'll give him
At
more
least
information if he needs it.
do something. Just commit that he's willing to establish the department.
Okay,
How about also that we recommend that since this may be somewhat difficult for him, that we also volunteer to sit down with him and talk about this.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I'm a believer in upfront talking is the best way to get things done.
So the motion that we want to present to him from this committee would be that we would ask him to support the forestry department, which would include staffing and equipment.
Right,
Is that right, Paul?
yes,
Looking
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
to establish a forestry department, which would include staffing and equipment.
Equipment, yeah, correct.
okay, and why don't we, if you making that, are you making that of a motion, Shirley?
Yes, that's a motion.
Could I just add to that, if Shirley will accept that, we also offer that Paul and whoever will sit down and discuss the details of this? I think that's important.
Sure.
All right. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Good, good, thank you. This should be easy, no problem, we'll get it done. He'll say, sure, when do you want to start? Next week? Okay. All right, the last thing, unless I've skipped something, is do we want to do anything for summer projects? I don't know. Part of our mission is to have flyers for private individuals about trees. I mean, we may not be ready for that yet, but do you have any ideas of things simple things we might be able to do for the town and good PR for the board? Any thoughts?
We
Sure.
used to celebrate Arbor's Day by giving out little tree seedlings.
We talked about that, yeah.
We gave them out around election day in the past. I think we've missed this year's Arbor Day in terms of being a part of that program. But maybe that's something we should consider for next year. That we do subscribe to the Arbor Day and that we request and pay for the seedlings that we hand out to anybody who wants to and is willing to go and vote.
Okay,
Fun fact that,
go ahead.
fun fact, I got married on the 26th of this month, 10 years ago, and our little favors at our wedding in honor of Arbor Day, we gave out saplings of trees, and I don't know why we did, but
Well, I did track down a copy of a VHS copy for private use of it's Arbor Day Charlie Brown TV special. Maybe next year we could do a bootleg viewing of it. I don't know how you get a public license for a show that's that far out of copyright, but I'm only half kidding. It's too late to run it. It's too late for me to do anything this month, but I'm all set for next year.
On the Arbor Day website too, there's some recommendations, but there's a Arbor Day poster contest or coloring contest that a lot of communities do through the schools. It's probably elementary age. We could scramble for this year, or we could, decide to do it next year, because maybe that could be in concert with the saplings, for a particular grade. Maybe one, receives the saplings and another few grades do a coloring or poster contest. There could still be time to reach out to the appropriate grade. I know the principals of both in Bridgewater, the Mitchell and the Williams.
Is it possible, you think, Nicole, to do this?
Yeah, I kind of do. I think they might be interested.
Then we'd have to get the seedlings, right?
Well, we could just do the coloring contest, because that would just probably require a small printing budget to print 100, instruction papers or whatever to hand out. The school might even be able to do that.
Okay,
I think we're too late for the seedlings,
I think you're probably right.
but I think we're beyond the time.
Unless the winner, maybe that's part of what the award is for the, the winner or winners.
so are you saying you want to try to go ahead with this? I really, I say that's a real question. I have no idea what this would entail.
I know. Let me dig into it and see what I think it would entail.
Okay. I also thought of if we could at some point come up with a small flyer on recommended trees and how to plant trees, things like that. And it would also give people, the private individuals, some information, and also could be a good advertisement for us. Bridgewater Tree Committee recommends trees on your land, things like that.
How did you think we would distribute that?
Throw them out of an airplane? I don't know. We could probably put a pile in the town academy building. I don't know. We could, I don't know. Good questions.
I wonder how expensive it is to do those, like mails, like a landscape guy might do that hits every mailbox. It's postage, I assume, but
Well, you have to be a nonprofit to get postage cheaply. I think that's fairly expensive, Paul. Although
I just confirmed what I came across was something administered through the state of Massachusetts, 5th grade age group can participate in an Arbor Day poster contest. So it's a statewide contest. The deadline for 2023 was March 15th. So if we want to participate in the state-run version, that would have to be, we would have to say that for next year. Talk
Yep.
to the 5th grade principal and, curriculum. I bet they would agree to that. And otherwise, we would be doing something on our own, I think, this year.
It would be a great way to get kids talking about trees.
Mhm. I would like to suggest that maybe we put together an educational plan for here that might include the giving away of seedlings and posters and things of that sort. We don't have to do it all at once, but if we begin to do a little bit here and a little bit there, every year, something different, we might really be able to motivate people to see the value in trees.
Oh, on that point, planting trees in the fall is a good idea, right?
Mhm.
So if we spend between now and July working out some sort of brochure or something,
Mhm.
plan to pass them out in August.
By then we should have a better, tree list. I mean, this is a great place for the tree list that's both encouraging and discouraging for, like the voluntary efforts of
Right.
people on their land is a whole simpler, it's not a regulatory question, so,
This then speaks of a subcommittee.
yes. So we can work on that part of it, and figuring out how to publicize it would be something the whole group can work on.
Well,
I
let's see.
can pull the resources that are available from all these websites I've been looking at. There's like coloring pages and informational brochures that, we can probably just, take. We can
Okay.
amend, we can have our own sheet too, but we can, certainly there's tons of resources that are available to us through this Arbor Day Foundation page.
Are we
Maybe
talking
we could
about,
do something at Oktoberfest, give away seedlings at that point.
Well, that's a great idea.
good idea, yeah.
But it may not be a good idea as far as the season goes.
Is it too late?
It's too late, I think, to put seeds, the seedlings are gonna be very small.
Mhm.
Mm,
They're
Yeah.
much better at election time in April.
Yeah, in the
It's
spring.
still, it's still a good point, Pat. I mean, we can even have a table there. Just tree committee with our flyer or something,
Give out our brochures, right?
brochure. I
With
like the
climate
idea of the
change.
brochure.
With climate
James,
change, fall,
you-
early October is still perfectly fine to plant. I don't know how late in the month. I mean, it's getting the planting season, unfortunately, is getting longer and longer. We had no winter at all this year.
Sure.
To Christmas Eve,
If we do get bombarded with snow, that's unlikely to survive.
right? Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, let's, if you're willing, let's at least get a subcommittee together to come up with a draft brochure that we can talk about the next meeting. It'll cost some money to print it, but we have money in the mitigation fund, so Michael should not be a problem. in terms of- But I think we need to decide whether you want a threefold, front and back, and what do we want to put in it? Is that the way we're going? Is that, so we want to make a motion
I got a call.
that we set up a subcommittee to do just that?
I'll make a motion that we set up a subcommittee to come up with a plan for educational resources around Arbor Day.
Okay, brochure is type. Is there a second?
Brochure, including a brochure, yeah.
Is there a second to that motion? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Everybody that agrees, say aye. Anybody disagree? Okay, it passes. Now we need that subcommittee.
I can help.
Okay, Nicole. Next. I think James, you want to help too, right?
Sure. Yeah, this next month is no good, but
I know,
After that.
okay, all right. Anybody
Yeah.
else?
Hmm.
I'll help too, nobody else.
all right.
Okay, anybody else that wants to come, fine, and it's okay. All right. All right,
Speaking of
Anybody
education, I
else?
have to go educate some people.
yeah, we're just about done now. Anything else you want to bring up?
I have a quick question. I saw in several emails last month, the name of Steve Dempsey, an arborist. I guess he's in Bridgewater. And I wondered what the context was that his name came up.
Oh,
Came up in relation to the BIA.
right.
As a
Well,
member of the
He was a
BIA,
member years ago,
that's right.
but we were talking, I think it was, oh golly, I don't remember whose email it was. But in any case,
Came out from Donna, our secretary.
okay.
Secretary.
But I thought he might be interested in our committee.
Well, I know that she was approaching him for the BIA.
Okay.
That's the contact her.
Yeah, Bill, also, this committee, but the way it's been set up is full. We don't have a slot for another person at this point.
Okay.
We'd have to change the makeup of the committee. All right, anybody else? Again, good meeting. I'll let you know what happens with Michael. Thank you very much. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Anybody against?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.